objects of power can cause or be results of AWE's, altered world events, intrusions upon the perceived reality. A side note, remember to cover their connection to the astral plane as well. Now, the service weapon is, of course, a prime example of an OOP, a very powerful one. Ingrained in the Bureau's DNA, a key component in our prime candidate program. Come out of that Russian roulette a winner and you're it. Lose and you're, well, fired. Thank you. I'm Dr. Darling, Head of Research, Federal Bureau of Control.
Welcome to Between the Joysticks. Press start and then we're off. Nick and John, they've got the sauce. Breaking news and some hot takes. Even if there's some mistakes, Nick is captaining the ship, while John gives thoughts straight from the hip. But when their powers combine, we're all in for a hell of a time. Between the Joysticks, it's the best. Up to 6 things they will address. Tell all your friends and settle in. Between the Joysticks now begins.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 112 of the video game podcast Between the Joysticks. I am your host, Nick, and I am joined by my co-host, John. John, how are you feeling?
I'm good, Nick. I got feeling a little fall-y, a little festive. I think we both actually
season.
have the a coworker of ours was kind enough to bring in a cold foam pumpkin spice creamer thing, and I'm just watching it cascade down. It's very lovely. It's very nice. Mm-hmm. So feel like a proper teenage girl right now. It's
I was
great.
gonna say we're a couple of basic bitches
That's
over
right. Welcome back to the Basic Bitches podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best time of year. The weather's great. Football, if you're into it.
At least if you live in the Midwest.
Playoff baseball.
Yep. I'm comfortable at this point to say go Tigers. Like, let's go. Playoff push.
And video games start coming out. You know, this is like prime season. You know, all the we've talked about on this show. Games are coming out. Games will continue to come out, and hopefully this will be a nice end of the year push.
You know, we
to
didn't
the Game
talk about
of
it
the
leading
Year
into the show. When are we going to review Astrobot? What are we doing with Astrobot? Because
I reviewed it in the show.
Did you review it? Okay. Well, maybe today. Maybe I can do it right now. Just
Yeah.
give my little impression.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it.
Is it not even? Is it not a 10?
It's a 10. It's just because I am so not the guy that typically beats a game within a week of release, right? So that should tell you everything you need to know. But yeah, I platinumed it as well. It's incredible top to bottom. I'm enjoying my son go through it right now as well. I think it's starting something in him. I can see it where he's realizing what a true video game is, and not just he's
Good.
played Spider-Man, he's played those kind of things, right?
Right.
But he's gone down this dark path of Roblox and shitty those kind of games. But
Not our jam.
But the amount of times that he goes, Dad, this is so fun, like playing a level of Astro, he's at least 6 times a level.
That's good.
So, but yeah, it's an easy 10. Whenever we do our updated list on games you have to be on that you have to have if you have a PS5, guaranteed spot. I don't know what it will replace, but
We'll have to argue.
yeah, it's fantastic. So.
Yeah, the only real bummer is like when games like this come and they just go. Like it's
Yeah.
like these people pour their heart and soul into 3 years of developing this video game, and it comes and a weekend goes by and it's gone. It's like
Yeah. I am interested though, like, I don't typically like games that I've platinumed especially or beaten and then something
Correct.
else comes out later, but this game could be weirdly fun with just the time trials. Like, at least what I remember from Playroom, it's like it just gives you a notification if one of your friends has beaten your times, right?
Sure.
So if you go in there, you make your times, then I see that you beat one of mine, I'm going in there. I'm going in there and figuring it out.
Yeah.
So like there could be a little bit of legs with it in that way, but it is by all accounts it's selling very well. Definitely seems like Sony has their bona fide mascot finally. Seems like this is going to be a franchise going forward. I think we talked on the show of like, do they try and Mario it and have all these weird spin-offs or just make, future
I'm
awesome.
assuming just sequels.
Yeah, sequels, but it's good old-fashioned video games, good old time.
Yeah, highly recommended.
Yeah. I
perfect
don't really think I
perfect
need to.
scores from us.
Yep.
That doesn't come around often, so yeah, enjoy. All right, moving on to our returning segment at the beginning of the show, Press X for Drama. This time it will be a continuation of our discussion last week as the internet continues to deal with the PlayStation 5 Pro's existence. But before we get into that, I did go back and listen to our predictions at the beginning of the year for this thing. And pat ourselves on the shoulder, John. We were really accurate. I think combined between the both of us, we called diskless. We called the 2 terabyte drive. We called that it launches November.
You called that, in fairness.
And then we differed on the price. But you said $649, I said $600, so we both assumed it was going to be more expensive,
Right?
which makes everything. We were so correct at the beginning of the year, January, episode 78, when we predicted this, that it just makes it more laughable when the internet reacts to what we called 9 months ago. Yeah, any further thoughts, like as the week has progressed?
No, it's just, people love knee-jerk reactions. People love to kind of, get mad. This is, not to make this a political thing, but this is what the 24 hours news cycle has done. People flock to negative opinions on things, and so it gets clicks, it gets all that kind of stuff. But, if you're just somebody who truly cares about games and is into the industry, you could see the writing on the wall from a little bit of ways, and it's a tough pill to swallow. Nobody wants to spend more money than they want to spend, but Pell of the Show Nick today was showing, not this Nick, Pell of the Show Nick, a nice little side-by-side comparing PS5, PS5 Pro, and then a 4090 running Hogwarts Legacy, and it's pretty. There's a couple things that it doesn't have that the 4090 does, but that's a $1,000 graphics card, and so
way more than that.
Well, I think we looked up the price at the time.
Oh.
He said there was one for like $900.
Okay.
But either way, regardless, that's what we're talking about here. So it's a difficult pill to swallow from the console space. There's never been a game console that's that expensive, short of the early 90s and late 2000s when a Jaguar cost $800 or something weird.
Right.
But it's just no more thoughts. Just kind of I can't say I'm surprised by the reaction. It's just simply kind of short-sighted in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah. Again, it's the internet. They're gonna be babies. They're gonna deal in controversy because that gets you engagement. I would love to go on our Twitter account, JoysticksPod, and just start spewing hate toward PC players and why this is the better deal. Good luck with your $2,000.
Isn't that the shit of it, Nick? You could have a path towards a little bit more success, but we'd have to just sell our morals,
right?
And be
right.
shitty.
We can't be as even keeled.
Nope.
But one of my favorite images someone had put out there in regards to this was 3 guys all making fun of the PlayStation 5 Pro price, and then behind their hands were behind their backs, and they were holding 3 different things, and one was Pokemon cards. The other guy had the Switch. Or not the Switch, the Steam Deck, and the other guy had like a boat, basically. All these things that are all equally expensive, but for some reason we're all focused on this thing, and that's kind of where I kind of want to end this all is really, who cares what people do with their money?
Yeah.
The PlayStation 5 Pro is either for you or not. A $3,000 PC is either for you or not. Spending $3,000 on Pokemon cards is for you or not.
And it's not the only option. If
Right.
it was the only option, all of the complaints make sense.
Right.
But again, to bring another example, another guy we know, season ticket holder for an NFL team, sold 1 ticket for $700. That's a 3-hour game.
Yeah.
So it's just it's money is money. We all have different financial situations. It is
Right.
what it is. But it's a broad spectrum, and people like to not think that way.
Right, and we all have our preferences in gaming and how we experience games. For a lot of people, just the Switch is perfect for them. For me and John, PlayStation is our preferred platform, and some people like the customization and mods that come with the PC builds, and that's all fine. But just let people buy what they want. Let
chill.
people. The disk drive is selling out right now.
Yep.
Ahead of this thing, and again, as you mentioned, just to follow up what you just said, is it seems like luxury items are all expensive right now. Concert tickets, sporting events, as you just mentioned, houses. cars, every luxury item is ridiculously expensive, and they're still selling somehow.
Yeah.
You know, there is a market for this stuff, and there's a market for the PlayStation 5 Pro, and you know, if people want to buy it, fine.
Yeah,
No.
it's a very dumb term, and I hate it. But look up what the word or the term fiduciary duty means. Just look that up, and you'll understand. You know, these companies have to charge what the market demands.
Right.
They're shareholders, and so again, not going to bat and don't want to be a Sony guy who's trying to defend them all, but like it's not based in greed. I don't think.
No, I think. Well, I think they're not trying to sell this console for a loss. I think that is 100% happening, but. Just like we mentioned, you know, and good. This is going to bring me into my next part of this.
Ooh, a good segue.
You know, is like look at the electronics and just look how like precious metals and the production that is so based in China is getting to like a boiling point of where a lot of these manufacturers can charge what they want for these advanced electronics that the PlayStation 5 Pro is, and bringing it back to console gaming is like. If you were to predict right now what the Switch 2 will cost,
there's a thought.
Given what we know now, consoles have not decreased in price.
Yeah.
4-year-old consoles, and you have a PlayStation 5 Pro selling for $700.
Switch launched at $3, right?
It launched at $300.
I'm gonna say it's $4.
I'm saying that that's the minimum.
I'm saying it's $4. I don't think so. I think Nintendo has always been laggy behind, and they thrive off of mass, and like we need to get as many of these things in the households as we can. So I would be shocked if it's ahead of 4.
Right.
But like it's going to be one of those things. If it is ahead of 4, okay, well let's look at the inflation charts. Let's look at if you let's
we'll
look
go
at all
through
this
the whole
stuff.
spiel
We
again.
need to be adults here and think of it from an economical standpoint, because guess what? That's reality. You might not like it, but that's what it is. So,
Right.
But I would say 400 personally.
Yeah. So again, and that will be more expensive than any Nintendo console before it.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Just buckle up and be prepared, because that's just where the electronics are going right now, and until the economy changes. So
Yeah, buy your games physically, like Nick and me, and then trade them in, and you get discounts. It's great. It's great.
yeah, but man, nothing was frustrating me more than the discourse about this thing. 'Cause
Have
it's just
you
absurd.
had a chance to marinate on the announcement? Have you moved in a direction, whether pro or against it?
I am for it.
You're
for
for
sure.
it. If you can get your hands on one, you want one.
Not right away. I definitely want. I will admit the 9-minute presentation sucked.
It did.
But what Digital Foundry is saying it's doing, and the actual professionals, that there is not, you cannot buy something comparable to this on PC.
Yeah,
even from just AMD doesn't have this tech in any of their current chipsets. So
Yeah. I think PSSR is going to do some cool
right,
stuff.
right. So if we're going to talk about state of play later this episode in our predictions, but just as more and more games, kind of new games, start saying they're going to take advantage of this, and maybe a couple old games that I'm really into. If there is a Red Dead Redemption 2 remaster and it's taking advantage of this thing, there we go.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
There we go.
That would
Like
be
more,
one I would think that
more games say that they're going to take advantage of this. Well, next year I'll be on this podcast saying I got one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's only a matter of time. So I had that outlook last episode. Has your opinion changed?
Not really. I mean,
Never say never.
Never say never. I don't know. I think what it would probably be for me is like if I get to the point where it starts to get, like you said, oh man, this is on there and this is improved and that's there, and the PS4 or 5 is still trading in at GameStop at the level that it is now, and I still for some reason have a lot of the credit that I currently have, that $250 that's just sitting in my wallet. At that point, if there's no game, if I don't have like 3 games lined up, yeah, I probably would pull the trigger. If anything, just to kind of future-proof myself a little bit in case the PS5, I don't think it'll take a shit. It's been running fine, but, eventually these things break down, and so, I don't know. I mean, I still would say that the next PlayStation console I will buy is the PS6 probably, but never say never.
All right. Cool. Well, that's all I got. So if you're good, we can move into the show.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, this is how the show works. John and I can both bring up to 3 things to talk about. It can be a video game we're playing, a news item, a topic. It can also be a message from you, the listener. You can message us on Twitter at JoysticksPod. Follow us there for updates on the show. You can comment on our YouTube page, on any of our videos there at Between the Joysticks, or you can email in to our email address. That's at betweenthejoysticks@gmail.com. Just like Freddie continues to do. We love you, Freddie. Keep writing in.
Platinum member.
Yeah, exactly. This is a long email, so buckle up.
Cool. I never read these before, by the way. I'm going into these blind. Nick preps, so in case my takes are shitty.
Hey guys, it's been a blast listening to you guys, and I hope you've enjoyed the questions. I kind of have a follow-up for you guys in regards to the Sony IP question. Really enjoyed your convo, but you both talked about how expensive games are in relation to creating new IPs, and I've been thinking of a hypothetical for quite some, specifically in regards to that point. As we know, games are more expensive to develop today, and they take much longer to develop as well because developers chase higher and higher visual fidelity. Would you guys be willing to sacrifice new game engines, visual fidelity, mechanics, etc. if it meant development costs were lower, games came out quicker, games could have more depth, or new IP could be tested because costs were lower? If so, how much of a sacrifice? This is a tough question to write, so I'm going to give you an example to help explain. For example, I'd be fully willing to play games with the graphical fidelity of late PS3 360 games if it meant games came out quicker. The original Mass Effect trilogy came out from 2007 to 2012. I know there was a bunch of crunch on that game, so it might be a bad example. So with today's tech, I'd like to assume feats like this would be more attainable. Elden Ring is another great example. While a good-looking game, it's still not the epitome of visual fidelity, and I think that's partly why they were able to pump out essentially Elden Ring 1.5 so quickly. I would not play games through with the graphical settings of, let's say, N64 launch 360 PS3, though, because that's too far of a regression for me.
Agreed.
I know this might not make a ton of sense, and it's a long yield, but I hope you're able to get the picture I'm trying to paint. Appreciate you guys and the podcast.
Yeah.
There you go, John.
Well, Freddie, first off, your email made perfect sense, so don't worry about it from that standpoint. I get what you're laying down. Nick, I kind of want you to answer first, though, because my answer is going to have a lot of John caveats in it. So I kind of want to hear your thoughts first.
Man, yeah. I prefer current games always opposed to older games.
Nick likes to push it.
Yeah, I do like games looking better, games playing better. But I think as we talked about, with the PlayStation 5 Pro talk, is that fidelity and that return is less and less each console generation.
Yeah.
So if games stayed at PlayStation 5 era for a while, even into PlayStation 6, I would be fine with that. As far as regressing back to, I could not go back to PS3 360 games.
Yeah.
3D games do not hold up, in my opinion, very well as opposed to 2D games, even more current ones like Spelunky or just any recent Metroidvania, Hollow Knight. Those games will last forever.
Yeah.
But if you go back and you're playing, it'd probably be a little rough for me to go back to Mass Effect. I'm going to be honest. Even with the Legendary Edition kind of up-resing all the assets to PS4, Xbox One era, that game would probably be pretty rough. I did play Arkham Asylum a few years ago, the remaster, and that was rough.
Yeah.
So something needs to change for sure. I would rather have shorter games than reducing graphics. Length is a 20-hour game is fine to me. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth doesn't need to be 70 hours. It can be half that. It can be 35 hours. But John, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, bloat is definitely a problem in the game, and I don't know how long you've been listening to the podcast, Freddie, but if it's been a while, you've probably heard us talk about this before. But in case you haven't, at least my opinion on it is that one of the biggest issues in the industry is the economics of it all. Is simply how many people need to get laid off to make product's profitable. You see a product like A Last of Us Part 2, right, that costs $250 million to make. It sells 10 million copies. After everybody gets their cuts and all this stuff, all of a sudden, Sony's left with like about enough money to make their next game, right? It's not a sustainable system that's in place right now. That being said, I do partially agree with Nick. I don't know. I couldn't go back to PS3, Xbox 360, but I do think you're onto something. With that, PS4 is probably a sweet spot. I think of a game like Bloodborne and the fidelity, the way that game looks. I don't need anything looking better than that. I think of some of my favorite games over the past 10 years, something like Hades, something like The Binding of Isaac. I am obviously the gameplay focused guy. So if you can hit that PS4 level with modern controls, because I think that's where the difference for me would be. It's like going back to playing a game like Mass Effect. From the look of it, I think I could swallow that pretty easily. But I would notice a lot of the modernity that's lost with the control schemes, and I would feel that a lot harder than I would the graphics. So I don't know if going back to the PS4 generation, like if that would be enough of that wiggle room to allow developers to speed up the process. But I think that would be like kind of where I would start to look at and focus at if this was a viable solution for the industry. That all being said, personally, at my point in life, I don't need games released quicker, though. That's why I mentioned the John caveat is, my backlog is constantly buzzing around in my head, and I have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth still to play this year. Zelda Echoes of Wisdom's coming out next week. I pre-ordered that. So on a personal level, there's really no benefit for me to try and see that. But I do agree that, the economics need to be fixed. IP has definitely slowed down. We were even talking yesterday, Nick and I, about Ace Ventura was on. And even in the movie space, it's like the first one came out in 94, the sequel came out in 95. It's like that shit does not happen anymore either. No. It's like, things just from a grand scale have become, I don't know if the bar is being raised so much and we need to hit higher and higher highs and we need to keep pushing profits and all that good stuff. But it's an interesting thought. It's definitely kind of I've never really thought about doing that because, you'd have to get specific board members and C-suite executives and people on board to, think that could sell. And, there are, unfortunately, we heard about it in the PS5 Pro presentation. It's like 75% of people choose fidelity, right? Like, I think that's what
Performance.
Is it performance? Was it reversed?
Yeah, it was reversed.
Okay, well, I take back this point. But no, good question, Freddie. But I think that's.
I mean, just look at the industry too. Like one of the best-selling consoles is not trying to push graphics or anything. It's the Switch, you know. But also you got to look at like studios that don't sacrifice anything. It seems when you think of like the output of games from Software, who constantly releases Game of the Year candidates, or at least 80 and above. Or Insomniac, who also can just constantly release multiple games, year after year after year, and just has some kind of like secret sauce as opposed to in their just production and how they make games that allows them to release games consistently. We were just talking earlier today about EA says they're going to finish the Jedi trilogy, right? Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, and Jedi Fallen Order came out in October of 2019. And then the sequel to it came out in April of 2024. Yeah, or 2023, last year.
Oh, that was last year.
Yeah, and look at that time window. 3 years. So and that's Respawn, who also does Apex Legends and other projects. So some studios know what it takes and have just, I don't know if it's like, I know Insomniac famously lets you work anywhere. I know CD Projekt Red is moving in that direction of just like they let people work from home, and that maybe leads to a better work-life balance and a better product overall. There's
I know Moon Studios is entirely remote, the makers of the Ori games.
Yeah, so who knows? Like there might be a lot of management issues, and I'm sure there are with a lot of these games. It seems like every bad story of a studio starts with management. So.
Yeah.
It may not even be just a sacrifice on the game level. It's just, these studios, and I think technology is getting there too. This push for AI, I know a lot of people are talking about the jobs it'll take, but I'm assuming a lot of these processes will get easier, and implementing changes will be easier because it'll be all automated. So,
right. And Unreal 5 is supposedly leaps and bounds ahead of Unreal 4. So what does Unreal 6 look like in 8 years?
Right.
But yeah, I think the secret sauce is there's some truth to that, and it's not going to be for every developer. It's not going to be for every type of game, but. Astrobot's a good example. It was a team of 60 people in 3 years, and the director was quoted saying part of the reason for the success was the team's restraint when it came to what they were trying to do. It's
yep.
they're just like, no, this is the level. Here's your little gimmick. Go through it. Make it fun. Make all the things that keep you funneling through the game with like the Astrobots and all this stuff, like these secret levels and challenge levels. It just keeps it moving where you feel like you're getting this incredibly rewarding, incredibly fulfilling game. But when you break it down and look at that game, I don't know, it's pretty small. It's like, it's not that big of a game,
right.
But we're walking away from it going, oh my God, that's a 10 out of 10. That's my game of the year.
Well, when I asked you to say something bad about it and you're like, well, did you just have 3, unless you get an item, you only have you have jump, punch, and glide.
Yeah.
And that's it. But that probably leads to that reduced scope because you build your levels around such a simple mechanics that it makes the game much easier to design for. So
or one other example, just like a Yakuza series, right? They're very clever and creative with and
another studio.
Some people probably don't like those kind of games or whatever, but like the people that do, they found a formula where it's like, look, we're just going to use the same map for 7 games and then we switch it up and we're going to do something else. But they allowed them, and at least I'm sure it's a incredibly huge part of it, to release. I think they probably were one release a year. If they've probably been that way since Yakuza 3. I don't know. But,
right.
So hopefully that answers a lot of.
But so you don't want more games more quicker?
Personally, no. I mean, if I didn't have a family, I can't.
Well,
there's no point.
I think. To John's point, if he could get a God of War every 3 to 4 years, of course he would sign up for that.
Yes, yeah.
He'd eventually find time for it, right? Just like Astrobot. He finishes it in a week. Like I think, the God of War trilogy. If it was originally supposed to be 3 games, and if it was
and I bet my
6
average
years,
time to beat those games is probably like 3 weeks. So
right.
I can't. If it is the right product,
right.
I don't get bogged down too
right.
hard. Right,
right. You find the time. So.
Right.
Of course, shorter times, but I think we both agreed, let's not go too far back, but let's get things better so games are made quicker and less crunch.
I think that Bloodborne, Nier Automata, that level of graphics, I can go with that.
Sure.
With The Witcher 3.
Sure. It's all it's on the game. Each game will you'll accept a certain level as long as everything else is there. So
or else.
All right, so thanks for the email, Freddie. Again, keep writing
legs. Felt good. I was literally like, I usually ignore when Nick's talking, but I got to listen to every single word.
Yeah, he just tunes me out and then
what? Huh?
Blank stares me when I'm like, it's your turn to talk. All right, so let's move into our next topic, state of play. It feels imminent. I'm going to be really mad if it's not because. We've been built up by all the industry insiders. The last 4 years, since 2020, there has been a showcase or a state of play in September from Sony. The last 2 years, a state of play, and then the 2 years before that, a showcase. So this is what they do. So it's got to be coming. And so let's get some predictions in because we know how these go, right? They're going to go, as far as we know, they could announce this tomorrow for Thursday, and it comes and goes, and John and I can't say one word or the other. It just happens, and we respond to it. But we're going to be a little proactive, and hopefully, we can get
you guys excited and then let you down.
Yeah, exactly. But I got some. Before we get into your predictions, Johns, I got a couple things I wanted to talk about.
Let's do it.
Some elephants in the room here. Death Stranding 2.
Yes.
One of the big games of next year. Let me finish. It is already planned to have a big panel at Tokyo Game Show, which is September 26th through 29th, in which they have a panel, including Hideo Kojima, talking about the game.
Okay.
With that said, will Death Stranding 2 be in the state of play?
No.
You changing?
I'm changing.
I thought you said yes.
I did?
I said Death Stranding too, and you said yes.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm changing. I'm changing.
So you're saying
I'm
if
feeling
there's a
in my
state of
balls.
play, a Death Stranding will not.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't know about the Tokyo Game Show thing, so I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, why would you do both? But Hideo Kojima does love himself some Hideo Kojima.
Right, and I'm thinking he'll wait to pop off at the Game Awards. So they'll do this Tokyo Game Show thing, and then the next time we see Death Stranding will be the Game Awards.
I get a feeling that Hideo Kojima, deservedly so, needs to be the pop, right? If I'm
Yeah.
going to show up at a thing, I'm like the thing. This is the reason people are here.
Right.
And not to get into my predictions, but I'm hoping that they're going to go big here. And so, yeah, I could see a world where they're like, hey, you can come to the State of Play, but just so you know, we have hopefully some first-party announcements.
Right.
Do you want to still be there? I'll just go to Tokyo Game Show instead.
Right.
I'll get a lot of
It's
pop
right down
there.
the street.
Yeah.
from their studio.
Yeah, I'm if I told you that, I have the memory of a guy who smokes marijuana every day, and so I forgot, but no, I'm changing.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I'm in agreement. No Death Stranding 2. All right, next up, Microsoft. Project Latitude. Earlier this year, we got
Think about
4
Microsoft.
Xbox games. The big rumor has been around Forza Horizon 5 coming to PlayStation. If there's a state of play, will a Microsoft published game, which means Activision, Bethesda, or first party, be at the show?
So are we saying like something that's already existing on Microsoft, or something that's potentially not released yet being there? Either way.
Either or. Do you have? Would they announce more games that have already launched? Say a Starfield, Hellblade, something else along those lines.
I don't think so. Now, I wouldn't have thought that they would have said that. Oh God, Indiana Jones was coming to PlayStation on stage either.
Right.
But that was a Jeff Keighley event. I don't know if Microsoft would say, "Hey, PlayStation, for your event, you can get some pop with our stuff." I feel like whenever that gets announced, whatever that next wave is, it's going to be either Xbox is talking, like Xbox is at something. I don't think they would want to just unveil it there. So I'm going to say no on that one as well.
I'm gonna say you're wrong. I think we'll at least get one game. Maybe this Forza Horizon 5 rumor will come
I hope
true.
so. That game's great. It's an awesome game.
Because again, it's like all eyes on this state of play or the showcase, whatever they end up doing, and it's just marketing there.
Yeah.
For one of your big games that you want to push, because this is not too many $70 box games have come to PlayStation.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Yeah, I could if I would say if they're there, it's a game that's not yet released. I don't see them. I don't know. I don't know if I can see them bringing something that already exists and be like, no, we're bringing it to PlayStation, Microsoft logo. And like, I don't know.
Sure.
That just seems weird to me. But yeah, I don't know.
Alright.
It's good. I didn't even think about Microsoft.
Okay. And then upcoming games. We have 2 games that kind of been featured at Sony events quite a bit in Marvel Rivals, which is coming this December, and Silent Hill 2 coming this October 8th. Will they be there?
Yes, both of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Marvel Rivals is a lock.
It's less competition for it.
Yeah, that is interesting. Does Sony promote another hero shooter after they just killed one? But no, I think that makes sense. Marvel is just a logo you can throw on a screen, get people's eyeballs. It's coming out in December. I don't know when else you would really pop it off. And Silent Hill is one of the bigger releases of the fall. So I think just you just show off one more trailer. I don't know what that trailer would be. It'd just probably be like one final trailer type thing.
Yeah, I'm curious.
It's the last pop because that's what, October 8th?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the last chance for that. I think.
Yeah, I'm curious because they showed a lot of these games already. If it's a showcase, I would say yes. But if it's a state of play, there's a chance that they wouldn't be there because they've been shown enough. Especially Silent Hill 2. So
This is a showcase.
I'm gonna say
man.
no.
All bets are off.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I need to rework my shit if that's the case.
Well, I mean, you could just say first party games will be there in a significant way if it was a showcase.
Yeah.
So, and then finally, of course, the elephant in the room, that the ugly stepchild of PlayStation, PSVR 2. We saw Behemoth and Alien Rogue Incursion, both games coming out this fall.
There's also Metro Awakening.
Oh yeah, that's another
that
one
too. I do think we get a little. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of it, but The reason I say that is I think we're going to get some sort of PSVR 2 update. That Welcome Hub thing, it's unanswered, right? With the update of the Welcome Hub, you can pin like the battery life of different devices to it, and one of them is a VR headset. What does that mean? Is it the controllers? Maybe, but like I don't know if there's some way that they've figured out how to make it wireless. If that's like if maybe that's what they've really been trying to figure out. I just you got to explain that in some way. So I'm gonna say that they got something cooking with VR, at least some sort of hopeful update. Maybe make it wireless. I don't know what that would be, but I'm gonna say they at least show off one of those games, whether it's Metro, Behemoth, or what was the other one you said?
Alien Rogue Incursion.
Alien Rogue Incursion.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my money on Metro though, honestly.
Yeah, that's definitely the bigger one, and in Behemoth we've seen a lot of, but in Alien Rogue not so much. So that's also a very good chance.
I also want to say Metro is not PSVR 2 exclusive, right? I don't think there's any games that want to be PSVR 2 exclusive. Nope, it's coming to everything. Okay.
And then finally, again, they've been on this PC push. You know, bringing God of War Ragnarok is coming this week to PC, and so you know, is the next Sony exclusive Spider-Man 2 PC.
I'm showing Nick my computer. It says Spider-Man 2 is coming to PC.
All right. So there you go.
They found so much dude. I love their PC initiative. I really do. Like as somebody who doesn't play on PC, you know, anybody who's out there going my exclusive, like shut the fuck up. Like this is great for the brand. It's just gives Sony more money. The purchase of Nix's, I think, was a very, very good purchase. It just allows them to kind of have this subsection siloed off and just get some more money, get some games, a little more notoriety, get them into other people's hands. And I think Spider-Man 2, I actually looked up, like, what was the last ported game, and I think it was Rift Apart, short of what you just mentioned with God of War Ragnarok. So I was like, okay, what are the other big ones?
Ghost was earlier this year, too.
Ghost was earlier this year?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean...
Remember, it outsold everything on PC.
Yeah, so I mean, dude, like, why would they not
For
want to just
May.
keep this going? Like, I just think, I think they've set up a cadence where you get 1 to 2 of these every single year. It makes sense to me, you know, as we release
as they release games.
Yeah, as we release our first party, 1 to 2 years after, here they come on PC, and just keep that going in perpetuity. I don't see why you wouldn't.
So, probably between now and June of next year is Spider-Man 2 will launch on PC.
Is there any other candidates that you can think of? I was just trying to think of, like, I feel like it's gotta be.
I only really follow it when like a news story comes out about it. Like other than that, it's like, well, I'm happy for PC. They're getting God of War and Ghost and all that. But unless it's like, Ghost of Tsushima is the #1 seller for May on PC, or the God of War Ragnarok PlayStation account requirement, I really don't follow. So
sure.
Can't even tell you like is Days Gone, Returnal, or all those games on PC.
Returnal is, I know that. I'm not sure about Days Gone.
So,
let me ask you this: what was Spider-Man 2 Sony's big release last fall?
Yeah.
Okay. Then
I think so
because the big release early in this year was Helldivers, and that came day and date, so that's already out the table. So yeah, Spider-Man 2.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. That's what I got. So now it's open to whatever you got.
Sure.
If you want me to go first, I can.
Go first. I don't have much else.
First one.
You had some good questions there.
Again, we're TGS is around the corner, Tokyo Game Show, and so I'm thinking games around that mindset. And the first big one is Pal World. It's time for Pal World to come to PlayStation. It is on Xbox and PC, and I'm sure a lot of PlayStation gamers are chomping at the bit to check out Pal World. So I think it's time.
Are you one of them?
No.
Yeah, me either. I think that's a very, very good, safe prediction. I only know this because they were actually talking about this on Sacred Symbols, but they were wondering, like, are people still playing it? And I think they said when they checked, like 24,000 people on Steam play it a day or something. So it's still cooking. You know, it's not doing what it did. I think it didn't like pass 2 million concurrents or something.
Right.
Like, it was crazy.
That and Helldivers will just exist and be successful, and they made enough initial money that those games will continue to get updates for years. But and they'll get the bumps obviously when a big patch or a big update comes. But it's time for PlayStation to get Pal World.
Yeah, good one. For my first one, I'm gonna go with we're going to get a release date trailer for Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater.
Ooh, yeah,
this is a
that's a
game
good
that's
one.
still dated for 2024. It has not been it has not been officially pushed, which
It's
usually
the PlayStation 5 Pro launch
it
game.
could be. Like it really could be.
November 7th.
And so I think that game still has a chance to come out this year. I remember reading some rumors that like people were like, no, it still is, which was weird. But it's never officially been pushed to 2025, which you would think getting in close to October, you're going to make that announcement. So I'm going to say they're going to show it off, and we get a date for next spring.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Yes.
I think that makes more sense that it would be there and it would be
Yeah, I don't think I'm
early
not sure
next
if it
year.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I didn't have that one.
Yeah, suck it, Nick.
My next prediction is, obviously last year they ended the show on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Square Enix and Sony have kind of had this relationship of, being tied to each other for their big RPGs. And it's time for them to show the next big RPG and start getting everyone hyped up for that. And that is Kingdom Hearts 4.
Ooh. Yeah, I never think of that series. I should
Yeah.
think
It's already gotten a trailer. It's just kind of taking the backseat as Rebirth and 16 and all the other RPGs that Square Enix pumps out. But now's the time to get that one back in people's mind.
Okay. This one, might not. It doesn't get me super excited, but I think there are a decent amount of people that have kind of had their eye on this game for a long, long time. And that's A Lost Soul Aside. You know which one that one is, Nick?
No.
So this was a game that was originally unveiled in 2016. It's being made by a single guy, and it's one of those ones where you go, "There's no way a single guy made this." Like if you look up gameplay of it, it's fast paced, kind of like Devil May Cry type stuff. But the studio is Alta Zero Games. But what I've been reading is that he's actually been making a lot of progress. He has a team assisting him now. I believe this is part of the China Hero project. Sony's going to make sure that he's getting the support he needs. And it seems like it's ramping up to get its big like trailer. Hey, it's coming here and then. Again, I don't know if this is it should be a game for me. I like Nier Automata and Devil May Cry and those kind of things. It looks like it's doing that. But I know it's one of those that similar to Black Myth Wukong that got unveiled a long, long time ago. People go, that looks dope, give it to me, and it's just kind of went away for a while. But I'm going to say we get not a date, but a window for next year at some point with a new gameplay trailer.
Yeah, and I had this prediction as well, just to build off what you just said with the success of Black Myth Wukong, with the push for the China Hero project. At least one or two games shown will be from this thing that John. We talked about it a few weeks ago. It's a collection of like 8 games.
You could even see India Hero Project too.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of those projects for other markets, like I said, really off the success of Black Myth Wukong, it would be, again, get the next game coming from that thing, coming from China in front of everybody because they're a big deal. So
yeah.
I have no specific game because there's a lot of them, but yeah, of another, the next game that's coming out the soonest will be featured in their show.
I would imagine in all Sony C-suite offices, there's a big map of China that's just like with a pin on it, and be like here, because like China's about to pop off. I mean, they did pop off with Black Myth Wukong, and so if you can find success in that region, and I think more than many other regions of the world, Chinese people, whether through the government or themselves, they love to support Chinese endeavors. That's what they do. It's all good. So yeah, it would make sense to want to have one of those every year or so.
Yep.
So yeah.
Cool. You got any more?
I do. I think we get. So this is where I start to get dicey because like when I was
spicy.
Well, when I was doing this, it's like, okay, it's hard not to just put out all the amazing predictions, right? Like, oh, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. We were having fun, and so it really depends. Is this a showcase or a state of play? We don't know the answer to that, but we're just gonna go big, Nick. We're going big, right? I think we finally get a look at the next Resident Evil announcement. I don't know if it's 9,
good one.
and I don't know if it's the Zero Veronica remake thing that they're doing. But there's a definite history of Resident Evil showing up at Sony events. They love to release games in the early parts of the year, and they love to have short release windows from announcement to release. So I think I'm feeling a Resident Evil release this fall. This winter.
We talked about that earlier this year. That the rumor is that the Resident Evil 9 is closer than you think.
Yep. And every single, I feel like since 7 and the remakes and 8, it's always been that way. It's like, oh shit, we're on to this one now. Right. So I think we get some Resident Evil news.
Yeah, Capcom showing up is probably for sure. If Monster Hunter Wild show up, it has a release date if it shows up.
Yeah.
But also, again.
I think they need to. Yeah. I'm not saying you're saying Monster Hunter will be there, but yeah, Monster Hunter. Pause it for a second. I feel like the last 2 or 3 big events we've had some Monster Hunter Wild stuff, unless if it is just the next game and they just want to crush it out. But yeah, I don't know. Resident Evil.
Yeah, Capcom and your prediction earlier this year about Devil May Cry getting a remake, or just even the next entry in Devil May Cry. That's another franchise due to show up. So, there's a good chance that it could show up here.
Yeah, Devil May Cry 5 was what, 2020? 2019?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2019.
As we know.
As we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Do you have anything else?
I do.
Okay.
I have a spicy one.
Yeah, I might have the same. Let's see.
I think John, just calm down. Mm-hmm. Calm down. Mm-hmm. Again, Japanese focus. It's time.
Oh, God.
It might not be the direct sequel that you're looking for, but maybe we get a tease about where the next direction for the Nier franchise is going.
Well, it's time, man. Automata was a long time ago.
Yeah, like I said, it might not be Nier Automata 2. It might be Nier something.
I don't even know how you would do that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying
yeah.
I have Nier and then in parentheses Automata sequel, but a Nier sequel.
Just the evolution of it.
Just whatever their next project is, because...
Yeah, Yoko Taro, man, that guy is due to give me some more stuff.
Yep.
And that would be phenomenal. It's funny. I wonder if I kind of close that part of my brain off, because doing this, I was like, I don't even think of that.
Right.
Same with Bloodborne. It's like I'm not going to write Bloodborne 2 down or Bloodborne Remastered. It's just a joke at this point. But when it happens, because it will happen.
Well, it was funny. Yeah, you just reminded me of we were talking earlier, because I was recanting our prediction for the PS5 Pro, and we had mentioned that it will launch with a big first party game, and given the time between now and November 7th and the showcase, it's like, well, what game could be there for that? And we both came to the conclusion is well, if they remade Bloodborne for PS5 and PS5 Pro, because Demon's Souls is one of the games enhanced for PS5 Pro, that it would be very interesting if on the day that the PlayStation 5 Pro launches, that it launches.
That Blue Point's been working on it. Here it is. We obviously don't need a long lead-in of marketing. Bloodborne's going to sell itself.
I swear to God, if we called this, if we did it, I will be on Twitter yelling at everybody.
Hey,
I will clip it out. Yeah, I'll clip it out, and I will be like, listen to what we said before even the state of play, that we called that the PlayStation 5 Pro.
So whenever that happens, I also need you to go back through all 100 and however many episodes, clip out all the things we've gotten correct, so people are like, you guys just got lucky. Be like, no, we did this, and we did this, and we guessed this. That'd be stupid.
To be fair, we've been way off, but I will say, like I said, we're on target for PlayStation 5 Pro, and it would just be funny if this is what happened.
That would be great. I do have one more.
It would break the internet, though, because that would also mean Bloodborne is coming to PC as well. That would be huge. It would be the state of play would be like a 10 out of 10 for most people.
It would continue the second half of the year that Sony's had, or actually the whole year, where it's like, Helldivers is great. Oh no, Concord sucks. Oh, Astrobot's amazing. Oh no, the PS5 Pro. It's like, Bloodborne. So,
right.
It kind of makes sense. Yeah, my last one. I don't know which one it'll be, but we have to get a first party game announcement. There's 2 that I'm thinking of. One is the obvious one with the Ghost of Tsushima 2. That has to be shown off at some point. I don't know when. If you asked me 3 months ago, I would have guaranteed this as a showcase, but it seems like rumors are leaning towards state of play, so don't know if they're going to go, how hard they're going to go, but it's either going to be that, or we finally get a look at whatever Cory Barlog's new game is. I think Sony does, they're probably reading the room, and people are a little down on the PS5 Pro reveal, the Concord stuff. Astrobot is obviously a shining moment but it also kind of came and went pretty quickly. So like they need the general consensus of PlayStation back up, and so we need a big show. This can't be a state of play that we get to the end of it. The one more thing is a Death Stranding 2, another trailer, and we don't get any more first-party announcements, and we sit here again for the next, maybe at the Game Awards we get some news, and then that goes, and we're like, maybe in May we get a showcase. And that sequence has to stop at some point.
I am in agreement. If they have a state of play, there has to be a first-party announcement that is coming next year, and and there's multiple candidates. Again,
Blue Point.
Blue Point, Sony Bend, Insomniac could pop off again with the rumored Spider-Man Venom game.
Or
any of those things.
Wolverine. I mean, I would honestly I know that's already an announced game, but if you go in there with a gameplay trailer of Wolverine and a date, that counts in my book.
John,
right? I know.
We're only going to get each other so hard during this podcast.
Wolverine.
We're only going to get so hard during this podcast.
Yeah. Well, like I said at the beginning of this, Nick, get ready for us to let you down. So we're letting each other down at this point. But that's what we do this for. It's fun, and
it's the fun part of the predictions, because if we're right, then like I said, we get the boast.
And we get
if
to
we're wrong, we
strip naked and run around the office space.
So, I agree. First party has to show up in some form, just one game. Like I said, we don't know what next year looks for PlayStation, so they have to at least get it started. I know they have the Game Awards too.
Give me some Hades 2 news too. Let's keep it going. Keep it going.
Yeah. Well, that's what the Game Awards is going to be, just on fire because of how the strength of next year looks like, and Keighley gets first dibs because of how well the viewership is for that thing. That he'll get whatever he wants. So it'll be exciting.
Judas.
Yeah. So
I don't have anything else. I don't know if you do.
No. I think that's a great place to leave it at.
We
started with the reasonable, and then we kind of escalated to insane. So, but I think like you said, first party game, China Hero Project, focus on Japanese games, Capcom being there, Square Enix being there, Palworld being there. I think those are all
MGS.
So all solid. Yeah, Konami being there. Yeah. All solid choices for being at this.
I would love it if just one, hopefully this podcast goes for 10, 15 years, and, we keep loving it. One of these times I would love it to be we fucking nailed it, man. It's just we get 6 of the 8 games somehow. Yeah, of course it is, but,
All right. Let's move on. We got a news item to talk about. Annapurna Interactive, a publisher of indie games,
great indie games.
Some sad news here coming from Jason Schreier of Bloomberg News, that the president of Annapurna Interactive, Nathan Geary, and his team had been negotiating with Ellison, the daughter of billionaire Larry Ellison, to spin off the video game division as an independent entity. When Ellison pulled out of negotiations, Geary and other executives resigned and were followed by around 24 other staffers. Essentially, 25 team members collectively resigned, and this is a bummer because I'll just list a few games that Annapurna Interactive has published.
Neon White.
Yeah, Neon White being a big one. What Remains of Edith Finch, Donut County, Gone Home, Outer Wilds, Kentucky Route Zero, The Pathless, The Artful Escape, John's favorite game, Stray, Cocoon, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, and upcoming Mixtape, the highlight of the Xbox Games Showcase. And again, we like to say the internet's full of drama. A lot of people spoke up about what a bummer this is. A lot of prominent people that, by all accounts, Annapurna Interactive, was a great publisher and helped fostered some of the greatest indie games that have come out over the last
creative people.
Last 5 years. So, hopefully there's a good ending to this story. I hope it's not concluded, and maybe that they work things out and they're able to get things done. But
yeah, I mean, I think what's happening 100%, because this level of solidarity is pretty impressive. That's not something that happens on a whim, right? And so I think these guys have all left as a unit to reform as another unit.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's if
one way or the other, there'll be a new.
If they were
entity.
approaching leadership and saying, "Hey, we want to spin off and be independent," and they're like, "No," which again, I know you mentioned it briefly here, but I want to drive this home. The lady that they went to is the daughter of a guy who's worth $200 billion. So she has a very probably poor idea of what, like, just, I don't know, hard work. I'm sure she's a nice individual and hardworking, but like doesn't have a grasp on reality in a lot of ways. And not saying that played a role in this, but it definitely, I think, did. So, these are incredibly talented, creative individuals, but they left, right? They say, hey, we want to go independent. They go, no, and they go, cool, we're going to do it ourselves. So the leadership of that team, those three guys, you said Gary, last name Gary, was
Nathan
one of
Gary.
them. Yep, and then the two other leaderships, they left, and then everybody followed suit. They're probably just like, yeah, guys, you come with us, we'll take care of you, we'll form our own thing, and we'll try and keep this thing going. I don't know what funding they have, but again, this is such a respected team that has incredible portfolio behind them that they can go to somebody and be like, hey, we need some funding. And they're like, what have you done? They go, Edith Finch. You go, here you go. So I hope as well that it has a positive outlook, and I think it will. But it was like, what happened?
Yeah, well, it's funny we didn't bring it to the show, but Dave the Diver developer MinRocket did the same thing. Is that they're spinning off from Nexon and becoming their own independent entity with funding from Nexon, and you're like, well, why would they do that? And then again, I think that's a move to, like you said, to keep them
in-house, get the profits,
retain talent,
realize that if you don't do this, they're gone, and then you get none of it.
Right. And they can't just spin off and do their own thing and make the next big thing. And it's the same here. You would hope that that they would keep these people and keep them from becoming a new publisher that becomes the next big thing. Which, like we said, given their pedigree, they certainly can. I mean, like I said, outside of Mixtape, they just announced that they're working with Remedy to bring Control and Alan Wake to TV and movies. So that's a great relationship they have, not even just with indie developers, but a big publisher like Remedy, or a big development team like Remedy. So,
yeah, and I mean, they're located in Hollywood, California. So like, it's a good place to get laid off, right? Like, let's say they don't form their own team or whatever,
right.
But like, there's going to be places that these people land. And again, I think there's something to be said about them quitting as a unit. This is a group of people that like each other, that want to work with each other, that probably find success with working with each other. So I think they'll do everything that they can to stay together, whether they find themselves at
It's like that scene in Jerry Maguire, but everyone leaves with them.
I've never seen it.
Oh.
Yeah,
wow.
Sorry. I know.
Okay, wow.
I've seen Half Baked, where he's like, who's coming with me? Who's coming with me, man? I've seen that.
Of course, the stoner on this show has seen Half Baked and not Jerry Maguire.
You love
But the
Half-Baked.
sophisticated
It's Dave
listeners
Chappelle.
have listened to, have seen Jerry Maguire. So
Yeah. I claim to be a movie guy, too.
it's all good.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm shocked that reference didn't land on you. Okay.
Show me the money.
But I'm sure that, like I said, the story is continuing, so I'm sure we'll hear more.
Show me the money.
All right, John, show me Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
Let's do it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm fresh off the heels of Astrobot. I had to pause my gameplay or my playthrough of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown halfway through. Really, really, really enjoying it, and so I was able to pick it back up. I haven't platinumed it yet. I plan to eventually, but I wanted to at least finish the run through, see the credits roll, clean up a couple things, and then at that point I wanted to get over to our pal here, Nick, so he can dive in. But I did beat it. It's fantastic. It's a great Metroidvania. A lot of what I've said about it kind of, it stays put. The feel of it, the movement, the systems that are at play are all incredibly well done. And the quality of life stuff that I keep championing with this game continued through the end of it. It wasn't just in the beginning where it's like, okay, cool, I can just see where I need to go. Which also, did you select that option? I'm curious.
Yeah, I just started the game. I'm about an hour and a half into it, and I selected guided.
Smart move.
Yeah.
And I honestly would choose that for every single Metroidvania going forward. I think you don't lose. There's people out there, and if you're one of these people, great, that like to get lost, that like to kind of explore every
it's an appeal
nook
of the
and cranny.
franchise for sure.
Absolutely. But I think this was just maybe it was just done exceptionally well. I never felt like I was losing any sense of exploration. I never felt like I'm just beelining it to where I need to go, because like you see this little dot in an empty map, right? And so it's like you might have a pathway underneath it. You might have a pathway where you have to go up and over, and so it just gives you a good sense of where you need to go, and allowed myself to respect my time a little bit better. And again, that continues on through the end.
How are like late game abilities?
Great. And that's a lot of a criticism that this game has had, is that it takes a little bit to get to the good stuff. And I do agree with that. Not to say the beginning is horrible, but it takes a good 5-6 hours to probably really get going. Sure. But I'll spoil a slight thing here, and I don't think you'd mind this.
It's 8 months old.
For sure. And it's a game. It's not it's just a gameplay thing. But one of the last abilities you get is like this, let's just say a hook shot, where you can kind of grapple onto enemies. Yeah. Oh yeah. Grapple onto enemies. It also is used to like get to different spots, right? There's these little purple triangles, and you're like, what is that? And then eventually you get that and you can use it, right? But the game does a very good job of allowing you to customize the way that you want to play. There's a really good parry mechanic in the game that if you want to use that intensively, you can. There's a very good, again, movement system, so you can kind of slide around and just do a little more evasive stuff, and that's what I tend to like to do. And so I built my character around getting enemies in the air using aerials, and then there's eventually another ability you can get that just like if you have full health, you're gonna do increased damage. Yep. And then on top of that, you have an amulet that can increase your health by 3. And those extra 3 count past the 100% mark, right? So you have those 3 to play with, so you're still getting that 100% damage boost. So with all that together, and then with the grapple hook, I would just grapple to a guy, I'm in the air, slash, 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 grapple to another guy, and I'm just bouncing around and just doing, and it felt really, really good because I played 80% of the game without that. And so I'm still having fun. I'm still launching people in the air. And then by the time I get to that, I'm like, oh, you guys are fucked now. And it's great because again, with the map systems and everything, that the quality of life features that'll respect your time, I just was able to have a consistent flow, consistently unlocking the areas I need to. With the map system, you can even, if you would like to, purchase a treasure map from a specific character that just gives you all the little hidden points that you need to go. So like it just creates a very fun flow state of like, okay, there's one. What's that? Oh, cool. Got it. And then you just kind of go to the next one. You go to the next one. You go to the next one. And, and that's why I like Metroidvanias. It's all about the flowiness, the gameplay, and all of that. A couple downsides, I don't go into these kind of games expecting it, so it didn't really harm my playthrough of it. The narrative is nothing to write home about. It's got some cool gimmicks to it, but I don't think it's really executed that well at the end of it, but it didn't really take a lot of the game away from me. We talked about it a little earlier. The art style, while I think they kind of thought they were onto something, it gets a little stale towards, like, it's not very pleasing to look at.
No, I in the opening 2 hours, I agree. Especially in this genre, which has, Guacamelee and Animal Well and Hollow Knight, it's like, which are just so visually just like consistent and distinguished that, this feels a little generic on the visuals. It's generic.
I will say a good thing with it though is it is very readable, which is nice. It's like, I'm never getting lost in the sauce of, there's lots of stuff happening. I'm zipping and zapping and sliding, and there's like flashes, right? There's a red flash, which is you can't deflect this. There's a yellow flash, which is like parry this, and so it's like it's very readable, which is nice. But yeah, it's not great in that regard. And I think some of the boss fights are a little weak. It's got one of those problems where it's like, I think the base combat is so good that if it ramps it up to the level that a boss typically does, right? Like there's this specific mechanic where you can kind of create an image of yourself, and then you press the button again, and you create an image, you can run away from it, and then you press it again, and you go right back to it, right? And there's certain boss fights that utilize that. I'm just like, I don't want to have to think about that while I'm, because like if you don't use that, you can't hit them, right? It's just like this thing where I'm just like, let me get you, and like, no, you have to use. So it gets a little old that way, but I highly recommend this game if you're a fan of the genre. It's not a Hollow Knight, but it is a 9 out of 10 for me.
Wow.
Yeah. These are my games. I'm a gameplay guy. I think it's just as almost as bit of every good from a control scheme and stuff as a Hollow Knight. Lacks a little bit in the lore and the story and the art style. I think that's what maybe elevates that above it. But I think this is a very, very fun, very enjoyable to play game, and priced at $40 brand new, which, I got it physical for 30, and let Nick borrow it. I can sell it back, and I'd probably be all in with $10. Like, fantastic. So, I could flirt with an 8 a little bit, but I think, again, when I score games myself, and for anybody listening, just kind of keep this in mind. It's all about what the game is trying to do. What is the experience? This is a Metroidvania. It's about exploring the map, doing all that. I don't care really much about the story. It's whatever. I know some people do, but for what it is, what it's trying to do, it does exceptionally well. I mean, that Rayman team is Ubisoft's like hidden gem, man. Like they just are great at this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'm happy I got to that one.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a 2024 game, January of this year. So,
yep.
I just started it, so I'll probably just follow up and either agree or disagree with John. So we'll go from there.
Yep.
But I'm excited to play it now that you gave it such a high score.
Yeah.
I'll play more.
Yep. Yeah, I'll be curious to see what you think about it, because I know these typically, not that you don't play Metroidvanias, they're not your standard fare, the more narrative guy. But
I'm transitioning, John. I'm playing more indie games.
Transitioning. Whoa, tell me more.
You used that same joke when I used that term before. I'm playing more indie games. I platinumed Animal Well earlier this year, so I'm moving into more of these games. So
good.
Yeah. All right. Final topic. We're continuing our Game of the Year discussion, but not for this year. For previous years before the show existed. Last week we did 2020. Now we're moving backwards in time to 2019. And what an interesting year.
Yeah.
I think for some people, they might consider this one of the greatest years in games. But not me. 4 games that would be considered one of the best games of the year I bounced off of, including Death Stranding, The Outer Worlds, The Outer Wilds, and Disco Elysium.
Hey, me too. Those 4.
Which a lot of people really enjoyed, really liked, but no, not me. And I played every one of them.
Yeah, me too. No, me too. So that, I mean, the Outer Wilds specifically, like, that is one of those. You find the right person, they go, it's my favorite game of all time. And you go, but why? Let me explore this and find out. And there's some really cool things about it, but
Yeah, there is a listener to this show who's probably screaming at us because
sorry,
I know he really enjoys those games. But all right, let's get into the before we get into our top 3, our honorable mentions. I only got 1. You said you have 3?
I have 3 honorable mentions, yes.
So kick us off.
So game I didn't beat, but I think just to give it its laurels, I think Dragon Quest XI was a very, 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 very good game that I just didn't have the time for. It's one of those 100-hour bad boys.
Yep.
But just, if you're a JRPG guy, you like that old school feel with modern graphics and the cute cast of characters and all that good stuff. It's one that shouldn't be skipped. So it wasn't obviously... I didn't play enough of it to feel like I could put it in my list. I still would like to get back to it one day, but it's just probably far too long for me. But I wanted to at least give it a little shout out.
Sure. Yeah. I just can't get with I love Dragon Ball. I love Akira Toriyama. Just can't get his art style into other games.
It is hard. And I also don't typically like silent protagonists.
Yes.
Like what? Like 100 hours when you're not saying a fucking word? Like, what is this? I know that is a JRPG trope, right? That's old as the genre is, but so I wanted to give that a little bit of shine. Another game in the honorable mention that probably would break the top 3, but I didn't play it really until this year, and that's Slay the Spire.
Oh yeah.
Really, really, really enjoy that game. Been playing it on my phone. I've never really been a card guy or a deck builder guy, and so kind of learning the systems at play and kind of seeing how the roguelike elements that I really do like in a lot of other games, translate into a card builder, was a lot of fun, and it's just something that I think if you're into those kind of games, you want to play as well. And then my last honorable mention that I had in my list, but again, because I never beat it, I feel like a poser, even though maybe one of my top 3 I never beat also, but we'll save that for a second. Disco Elysium is a very special game. I rarely have played a game that from the first 5 seconds of it, I go, oh, you're special. And that was one of them. Unfortunately, try as I might, I get like 10, 15 hours in, and then I just kind of lose interest, where it's just like I don't want to I don't want to talk more. I want to do something. And so I never beat it, but never say never. But that is an incredibly well done version of that kind of game. I know listener of the show, Jake, platinumed it, which was 3 playthroughs I think he had to do, or maybe even 4. But just takes a very unique twist on the RPG mechanics, right? You're building out effectively your mind, right? Whether you're Inland Empire is one of them, which like can't even explain.
Good luck.
Yeah, I can't even explain it, but it wholly unique, really well done. And that team doesn't exist anymore, so that's all that's going to be. But those are
I mean, just the to put the stamp on your point is like you'll never play another game like this. That's I think that's where you leave it. So
yep.
But yeah, that was a lot of people's. I think what is it? IGN's greatest game of all time.
It's IGN's 10th greatest game of all time.
Okay, there you go. So
yeah, top 10er.
Yeah. So all right. I only brought one honorable mention. I didn't play it that year. I played it later, but that's A Plague Tale: Innocence. This is from Asobo. This is The Last of Us, but in
but with rats.
Yeah, 18th century.
I don't even know. It's
England,
like 15th century.
Maybe even sooner.
It's like Black Plague shit, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Black Plague. A very gross game, speaking of the Black Plague, but an amazing narrative and some amazing mechanics. Typically you don't want to be in a position where you have to protect a kid, the age of John's kid. But
7 for those who don't know the age of my kid.
Protecting him and just a great overall narrative experience that got me to play the sequel immediately when it came out, and it was one of my favorite games.
Yeah, I gotta get to those.
Of last year, so
mid 14th century, just so.
Oh wow, I was way off.
I was way off. What is that? That's Dumb and Dumber, isn't it? I was way.
But
I
think it's been on. It's been a PlayStation Plus essential game. So if you've added it, I highly recommend checking it out.
So weird to me that that's the Microsoft Flight Simulator team.
Yep.
Like what?
That's their other franchise. Yeah. Just a great series. Cool. So
I figured you'd have that. I didn't know if it was going to crack your top 3 or not. But all right, my number 3 from Remedy Interactive, Control. You have a number 1?
It is my number 1.
Control. Probably my biggest surprise of the year. I remember when it got announced, it was like, oh, that looks weird and cool and confusing and strange. And then I played it and I was like, yeah, it is. And then also really fun. Who doesn't want to be able to use telekinetic powers, float around, rip concrete off of a wall, throw it at a dude?
You're Magneto, basically.
Yeah. It's like you're this super powered, badass FBI agent type thing, even though not FBI, it's the oldest house. It's even spookier and weirder.
The Bureau of Control.
Yeah. But I thought it was a very, very good game. The Ashtray Maze remains one of the best. It's not officially a level because I feel like games, unless you're playing Astrobot, don't have levels anymore. Right. But I think people know what I mean. Incredibly well done. Remedy's very good at that kind of stuff, and not a lot I can say bad about it. I mean, I remember the map really sucked. I hated the map. Yeah. And a lot of the stuff to read was really cool, but there was a lot of it. But it was a very fun experience. I'm super glad I played it.
Yeah, this was my game of the year for 2019 for sure. It was what X-Files meets like X-Men basically. Just a great lore. Objects of power is such an interesting concept in which ordinary objects in the world and the real world have really supernatural abilities. One of them is a gun that you wield that is able to transform into different objects and different weapons. And just from a narrative, gameplay, and then that Remedy flair that they had that we saw in Alan Wake 2 last year, that really makes this game incredible. Just everything is hitting at top level. Gameplay, story, everything. That's why it's my
not
favorite
the map
game.
though.
Yeah,
Fuck that
the
map.
map's okay, but the environments are great.
Yeah.
The old house is just incredible to navigate, and yeah, just the
I'd like to go back and play it. Unfortunately, I platinumed it, so I have no drive.
right. Well, they're working on a sequel, and then again, I can't even imagine what a television or movie using this franchise can be, and that's exciting that is also coming as well. So,
And well, now I just thought about it. Pal of the show, Will, talked to him the other day. He's getting the physical edition of Alan Wake 2 when that comes out. So he's like, yeah, you can take it.
finally,
I'm like,
yeah,
I'm like, cool. Because he made a statement that I was like, oh shit, I didn't realize it was like that for you. He goes, that's my game of the generation. I go, oh shit, I didn't realize you liked Alan Wake 2 that much. So, because he already owns it digitally, he just wants it physically because he cares about it that much. But yeah, so
Good on you, Will.
yeah, he's the man.
Good. Yeah,
He's
I
actually
wanted you
the-
to play it so badly.
He's the dude that got me into movies as much as I am, and also just like physical collection. I remember being in high school and going to his room, and he already had like a 17-year-old kid had like 350 DVDs. And you're like, what the hell is this? So yeah, he knows his shit.
Sweet. Yeah. Last year, my game of the year was Jesus. What was my game of the year last year? And it wasn't a game that came out last year. Was it Persona 5?
Yeah,
If it wasn't, it would have been Alan Wake 2. So there you go. That's cool. And I'm glad you get to play it.
well, and then I was also talking. I was like, do I need to play the first one? He goes, yeah, you probably should. I go, shit.
No.
No, you don't think so?
No, I would just.
Well, I was like, I could at least watch a playthrough maybe.
It starts with a kind of like a catch up. So don't. I would not worry about that too much. But
Okay. You hear that, Will? Nick thinks you're dumb.
well, Dragon Age. If I want to get Dragon Age of Velgard, I have to figure out 3 games
Yeah.
worth of story that have just.
Well, yeah,
Pushed out of my
and
head.
developers need to. They know that they're going to put
Yeah,
every single
exactly.
one.
That's what I'm
Here's what you need to know. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So you'll be fine going into that game.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. When you start playing that,
Yeah.
it'll be sweet to start that discussion again.
When does that come out physically?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it was by Halloween, but that won't happen. All right, my number 2.
Fuck me, I guess.
You started talking about Control. All right, go ahead. What's your number 3? Go ahead, little baby.
we were talking about Capcom. What started their little remake renaissance was the remake of Resident Evil 2.
That's my game of the year.
Oh,
Look at that.
oh, great, perfect. Which again, behind Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 2 is probably the second best game in the franchise, and they went back to this and not only just remade it, but redid everything. A better, made it a third-person game, better camera.
What do you mean a third person? Wasn't the first one third person?
Well, third-person fixed viewpoint depending on the room you went into.
Oh, right,
as
right,
opposed
right.
to
Right.
third-person behind the shoulder.
Right, you actually have control of the camera.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. And just taking those environments and making them more interesting, throwing in Mr. X halfway through that game. That's still by far the most nerve-wracking, skin-crawling, anxiety-filling moment is when Mr. X, who you cannot kill, is chasing you around that
Hear
police
those dumb
station.
footsteps.
Yeah, and you can hear his big thuds, which it laid.
I'm going to play this game this October, I think.
You should.
should.
Did you do both playthroughs?
No.
You gotta do both playthroughs because then you get the actual final
Yeah,
ending,
yeah,
final
maybe I will.
boss, all that stuff.
Maybe I
So, dang, John, you got some good games coming up here. It just kind of also led to me enjoying this franchise, playing Resident Evil 3 right after, playing Resident Evil 4. That Resident Evil is a really good franchise.
Yeah. I don't know if it's Mount Rushmore level, but it's
No.
close, man. Like, it's one of the most iconic franchises in video games for sure.
Yeah,
you got
it's
the
just-
Final Fantasies, the Zeldas, the Marios, the Resident Evils.
It's just the right amount of like silliness,
Campiness.
Campiness. Yeah, that's the perfect term to go with it.
Horror
just-
and camp go hand in hand, man. All
Yeah,
the
but
time.
just there, and then combining it with the puzzle elements and the third person shooting and just the management of, I don't know, boards. Like, should I board up this window? I don't know. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I
'cause
should.
It's gonna pay dividends later. And just a great game, 2 playthroughs, with 2 different characters, 2 different stories that kind of lead to this culmination. Just they did it right. I mean, they set the standard for remakes, I think, and what companies, we talked about Metal Gear Solid Delta, are all trying to aim for is this game right here.
And I think that last point is why it gave me the edge over number 2 to push it to number 1, is because not only is it fantastic gameplay experience, like I never personally played Resident Evil 2 back in the day, so it was kind of like I think I rented it and knew it was in a police station, all that stuff, but never saw it from front to back, and so being able to do that was fresh and fun. But like I don't think there's a person on this planet who, when that was announced that they were going to do that, had any idea the quality of the remake that was going to be done. And I think it was a very important release because, yeah, it set the bar. I mean, Silent Hill 2 is a great example of coming out this year. When that game was first released or revealed, we were all just like, no, that looks like garbage. It doesn't look like a Resident Evil remakes. Like, throw it away. And luckily, as we've seen the trailers come out, they're like, oh, no, it seems like they have reached that bar.
Right.
But it's just, it was important for a legendary game to get a treatment like that to allow us to kind of like, yeah, again, not to repeat myself, but set the bar. But yeah, just top to bottom, it was just a really, really fun experience. Again, it was a weaker year for me, so like that's probably not going to win Game of the Year for most years, but I have not a lot of bad things to say about it, and I think I've just convinced. I think this little conversation is like I should play that this October. It's been a long time. I never did the second playthrough, so yeah, I hands off to Capcom, which is kind of why I am hoping they once they finish up the Resident Evil remakes like they want to, which they're getting close, right? You got the Zero and Veronica, which is apparently what they're doing next, and you got potentially 5, potentially redoing the first one again. I don't know if you touch 6. It's a weird one to do, but after that, it's like, dude, yeah, go to your Devil May Cry's, go to your Dino Crises, your other franchise.
Yes, thank you. I'd rather they just
do that kind of stuff. It's like, and why not? Like,
Right.
It's all fantastic, and they're still pushing the series forward. Capcom, the Capcom renaissance, as the industry likes to talk about, like this was part of that beginning of it. We're like, oh shit, they're on top of their game right now.
Sure.
It's good stuff.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah. You want your number 2, or you want me my number 2?
I can do my number 2.
Okay.
All right.
I kind of like guess what it is.
I
know what it is.
This game released the same day as The Outer Worlds.
Star Wars.
And I unfortunately pre-ordered The Outer Worlds, and like as I mentioned at the start of this segment, I picked wrong because who would have thought Remedy, the creators of Titanfall
Respawn.
and Apex, sorry.
I got you.
The creators of Titanfall and Apex Legends would make a third-person action game, and I should have known because, again, Stig Asmussen, who would do this game in Jedi Survivor, the game's Jedi Fallen Order, of course, who did God of War previously. He knows how to make good third-person action games, and this game is incredible. It is the story of Cal Kestis, a Jedi who survives Order 66, and the game is basically Dark Souls meets Star Wars. Great bosses, great level design, great overall story. Ended at a really great moment to where I didn't even think they were going to get a sequel. And then hearing today at a EA conference that they're going to finish the series is great, that this is going to get a third entry. But yeah, who'd have thought Jedi Fallen Order would resonate so well with me, given my love of Star Wars? But I think back then I was a little Star Wars, you know.
Was that pre like Mando?
It was just after Mando.
Just
Mando's
after.
2018.
Okay.
The first season.
Okay,
So,
that's what I kind of viewed like you had the sequel trilogies, but obviously that
right.
So yeah, I like what you said there. Star Wars meets Dark Souls.
Fuck Dark Souls.
Maybe you should give the father of that a little more respect, Nicholas.
I've tried.
I know you have.
I've tried.
Speaking of Dark Souls, my number 2 game, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. I have not beaten it, so if you're like you can't rank that,
Poser.
then you can give me your hate mail, whatever. It's something I need to do. The disc I own does not work anymore. It's the only time that's ever happened to me. It's like it does. You put it in to load and it gets like 20%, and it just goes disc read error or whatever. So I can't.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like I got to rebuy it and beat it. But I will admit the final boss of that game scares me because it is you can't just over level yourself through this one.
Right.
You have to just do the parrying, and I'm not great at parrying. But what From Software did with this, the evolution of their formula. A lot of people say this is perhaps the greatest combat system that's ever existed in a game. Adding verticality to the Souls formula was, something that kind of needed to happen. That's a lot of dumb people will be like, I don't like Dark Souls because I can't jump. It's like, all right, I guess. So adding that in there was cool, and it does everything that a FromSoft game does. Like, I don't really have to say much more about it. Great bosses, great level design, the shit that Nick just said about Star Wars. My number one game to be a game I didn't beat. So I bumped Resident Evil 2 up, but Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, which was the Game of the Year winner at the Game Awards that year as well. So, yeah, good stuff.
Good old From Software.
Yeah, they know a thing or two.
Yeah. All right, cool. We'll move on to 2018, which will be...
That's a spicy one.
Yeah.
I mean, not my number one, but other than that, that'll be spicy.
Yeah,
maybe your number
just
one.
go ahead and preview what games came out in 2018, and you'll go, oh, boy.
2-1 specifically.
Oh, dear.
So, because you can't... Was Persona 5 that year? But you can't put that year, or will you?
I could, technically, I guess, but we'll see.
All right, we'll see. Yeah.
A lot of games to choose from, so we'll see. It might just make honorable mentions with the competition. So,
yeah.
Cool. Segment continues to be fun to do.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's all we brought.
Yep.
So, tease us, John. What's next?
The world is my oyster.
Well, for a week until...
Yeah, for a week.
Echoes of Wisdom comes out.
Yep. No, what I should really try and do is hammer home some Danganronpa. Really try and make some progress on that. But I did pop in Rebirth last night, forgetting about Echoes of Wisdom. So I'm like, I should probably just wait again. I keep pushing that one back, or maybe just try and do it. I don't know. But again, yeah, the world's my oyster. I can't get myself to get excited about Rebirth, which I know is a stupid fucking statement. I know how good the game is. I got to get myself past some sort of point where I go, cool, I'm in. It's just I have this dumb open world bug in my head that's just like, no, it's open world, don't do it, don't do it. As I'm about to play Zelda,
right?
So it makes no sense. I am aware of that, but that is the big release of this year that I have to try and get done before the end of the year. So whether I fit that in piecemeal or just wait, but yeah, Danganronpa, that, and then waiting for Zelda. That's my world.
It is what it is, man.
And try and read some more books.
We don't get paid to do this, so.
Well, and I do. What I really probably should do is just watch Shogun, so you can get you to get off my back about it, and I can definitely get that done in probably 10 days. So maybe I'll do that. I don't know.
All right. Yeah, I was before you gave me the Prince of Persia. I was gonna say I'm vulnerable, John. I was vulnerable. Like a game just needs to come out and just light the world on fire, and I'd probably just be like, whatever.
There it is.
I got it. And the Plucky Squire did come out. Currently sitting at an 85 on OpenCritic. If you're a PlayStation Plus Extra subscriber, you can play it right now. But we'll see. I'm going to focus on Prince of Persia. I'm going to try to be one and done with all my games, not try and juggle things. But also, Balatro's coming to mobile. And I think
isn't it only iOS, or is it?
No, it's
oh, nice, cool.
So yeah, it's on Android too. So
nice.
I'm already signed up for the notification for when it's live. So yeah, I think that's where I'm gonna play that game. So excited for that.
That's a great place to probably play it.
Yeah, I think that's.
I will probably also buy it there, and that'll be my new garage game. Yay!
Yeah, it'll get more attention there than sitting on my PlayStation next to all the big releases. So
yeah, it's got that problem. It's got that. I feel like I shouldn't be playing this on my 77-inch TV. It's like I don't know, something about it.
So yeah, it'll just I'm open. All these games out there, if you come out and you're decent, a lot of you indie games especially.
What's your next not released purchase? Is it Dragon Age? Probably.
I'm keeping an eye on Dragon Age. A big preview came out and it looks really good, but Dragon Age and Life is Strange are kind of like the games I'm eyeing. I'm kind of not as hot on Shadows anymore because of Outlaws. Not as high on Metaphor because I've been playing other JRPGs this year.
Right.
So, those games will be coming, and never say never.
It's like
theme of the show.
I was just gonna say, name this episode "Never Say Never." Yeah. I don't know what else there is to buy this year. It's good. It's a good problem to have. Not saying there's no games coming out, but just like it doesn't feel like there's that one anymore. It's like Astrobot was that one for me.
Yeah, it's like I said, we just keep an open heart,
Open heart. I mean, if Silent Hill 2 comes down, they're like, yeah, it's a 93. I'm like, ooh, okay, maybe that takes my Resident Evil 2 spot. I don't know.
Yeah, I would love that because that would be a game. I'm like, I got.
Did you ever play it back in the day?
No, we talked about it on the show.
I don't have a good memory. Why do I have to?
So either it's Never Say Never or John Smokeless Pot.
Shut up. Shut up.
The theme of the show. But yeah, so again, tons of games coming. Keeping an eye out on them. We'll see where we go from here. And we're leading up, man. It'll be the Game Awards before you know it. And, oh my God.
Yeah, as you get older,
not good.
Time just moves and moves and moves, and you look up and you're peeing your pants and wearing a diaper.
Well, as long as I'm sitting in front of a PlayStation 8, then fine.
Okay.
All right, so that's it. We can go on to the song of the show. We held it back last week, but I can't hold it back any longer. It's time.
There it is.
You knew it was in the trailer. You knew Astrobot would have something God of War related, and of course it did. One of the best levels in the whole game, and one of those reasons is because God of War is an amazing fucking song.
It is. Really is. It's the song that I keep when we were talking about how the soundtrack's not as good as Playroom. It's just like, you're right, but maybe this one song is better than all of those other ones combined.
And I do expect the next few weeks to just be all Astrobot songs.
Yeah, probably.
There's so many. Trunk of Funk is another one that I think I want to get in. Mm-hmm. So here you go. Enjoy. What's your name? A remix of God of War Ragnarok music with a funky beat. So enjoy.
Featuring Christopher Judge.
Yes. Enjoy. And enjoy all those games you're playing. I hope you're listening to us as you are enjoying this fall season of video games. So we'll be back, of course, next week. Up to 6 things. That's it, John. Say goodbye.
Bye, guys. See you soon.
Boy. boy.